right, so where is everybody? Everybody sleeping in this morning? Is that the deal? It's Friday, or as we like to call it in today's culture, Fry-yay. I'm not a big slang person, but I do like that one because I think it really does epitomize where you are by the time you get to the fifth workday of the week. Fry-yay. I am happy. I'm excited. I'm hangry. All of those things. But I'm more than anything, I think I'm just a little relieved. I'm just a little relieved of the fact that, again, that it's Friday. We made it throughout an entire week. And, yes, there are some stories that are grabbing our attention. There are some stories that we should be concerned about. But there are also some positive things. There are some good things that are happening. We just have to take the time to search them out, or take the time to appreciate the fact that with all the negative that we hear, there's also good. There are also good things that are happening. We get up and we get caught in all this news that is just kind of roiling around us. And we want to believe that there's nothing there except down. But there is up. There is up. There are good things. There are things to be thankful for. There are things to appreciate. There are events in life that give you perspective. For example, I think it's true, don't you, that we probably do take most things for granted until you don't have them. Whether it is somebody that you care for, whether it is the use of something in your life, for example, I don't know. Maybe you're one of those people. I'm kind of going through some issues right now with the shoulder. So it's like, I've been athletic and active my entire life. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I have limitations. And I'm, psychologically, it's kind of like, how do I come to terms with this? What if I can't do those things that I've always done? And age plays into that. The older you get, the limitations, I always try to pretend like they're not there. I always try to act like, I can ignore them. But eventually, to some degree, they catch up with you. So it's like, how do you deal with life's limitations? And certainly, we've all been exposed to that, right? Over the course of the last year. What we took for granted, seeing each other, hugging each other, going out without thinking about it, being engaged in, social activities, all those things, we just took for granted. And now all of a sudden, for a lot of people, if they haven't done away with all of them, then they've certainly reduced the amount that they're doing it. So now, to me, when we do get back to the point where we can start going, I think we'll appreciate it. I think people, but my other point being that life doesn't stop when these things happen. Life didn't stop when the pandemic came. Life didn't stop when I started having issues with the shoulder. I mean, it goes on. So you learn. Either you can deal with it and move forward, and it's isn't it a basic, remember the basic biology principle when you were school, that, you either adapt or flee. Those are the only two things that can happen. You either adapt or flee. And there are many ways of adapting and there are many ways of fleeing. But those are kind of the primary options that are available to us as living beings. We'll do one or the other. I hope that you're adopting and I hope that you're living as well. By the way, I am Dan Gresham. Now that we've gone the long way to get here, I'm at home in my house. That's hence the name of this live stream. But it's a lot more than just an update. It's talking about things that are going on in our world, talking to each other. I know you may think, well, this is a one-way street. He does all the talking and we just, hear what he has to say. That's not true. It is two-way communication. It's not as though we're sitting in the same room, but we do the best that we can. We give you the option to make comments. I can see them. On my program that I use, I can see, for example, let me remove my name and put Joanne Burdine up there. I can see Carlene is here this morning. I can see Tammy is up this morning. Marie is here this morning. Ronald does not like me. He thinks that I'm fake news, but I hope that that's not true, Ronald. All I can tell you is I do my best to try to make sure that that's not true, Ronald, that I am not giving you fake news. Lydia Duncan, Katina's here this morning as well. We like to see everybody out with us this morning. So you see what I'm saying? I can see, and we can communicate, we can talk to each other, and we can exchange ideas. Is it the perfect way to do it? Is the optimal way to do it? Nah. That would be, face to face as far as I'm concerned. Eileen, I love the fact that you're watching from the United Kingdom. I hope all is well with you. Carol, good morning to you. And the thing is, you can tell me where you're watching from. You can tell me what's on your mind. Susan Guidry, good morning. And she says, good morning to our community, because that's what we've created, a community here on our Facebook page. Robin, good morning to you. Glad your day is up and going. Rick, having a job. Yeah, that's another thing. You're right. We take for granted, and good morning, Tom. We take for granted the fact that you have a job until the job is gone. You ever lost your job? You ever been fired? There's an old saying in my business, that you've never worked in television or you've never worked in radio until you've been fired, because there are only two kinds of employees, right, in this business, those that have and those that will be. And I can say that I have been. Fortunately, I've been very fortunate. I've been doing this for 40 years, actually more than 40 years. And in that 40 years, once. And, is there a difference between being fired and being let go? Because I wasn't necessarily fired because I did something wrong. I was let go. I was given the door, shown the door, because they were going in another direction. I think there's a difference, because I always defend myself by going, well, no, I haven't been fired. I've been let go, but I've never been fired. But I probably should have been several times, but I was not. Virginia, good morning to you. Also, Lily Guidry, good morning. Take it one day at a time. That's kind of the secret to life, isn't it? Because if you get too far ahead of yourself, that's when it becomes a problem. And the more things are upset or upside down, I think the more that you have to bring it down from the macro to the micro, which is what I keep saying about where we are today in our society. The problem is everyone wants to look at the macro. Everybody wants to look at what's happening in Washington, what's happening across the country, instead of the micro, which is what's happening in your life, what's happening in your family's life, what's happening in your community. Those are the things that you can really have a direct effect on. Those macro things, I really don't have much control over what happens in the nation's capital, right? But I can control what happens in my house, and also what happens, more importantly for most of us, what happens in our head, and where we go. David, good morning to you. You have a great weekend as well. Carol says it's raining in Elkhart. Well, it was raining here in Beaumont when I came home from the office earlier this morning, Carol, but I think it's pretty much stopped now. Melody, good morning to you. Janet is up, one foot in front of the other. That's it. Mine is one foot in front of the other, head down into the wind, right? Cassandra Cherry says it's sunny in Honey Island. I bet it is. Melody says good morning. Actually, you got more rain in Honey Island than we got in Beaumont, I think. Christine, that's always a good one to keep in mind, right? That you've been given another day. Glenda, good morning to you. Beverly is up this morning there in Silsbee. Chicago in the house this morning. Home of the famous Da Bears, right, in Chicago. And Tammy is also up with us this morning, and glad you're here as well. All right, it's a Friday. I don't want to do a whole lot of heavy lifting today. I'll be honest with you. As I said, to me, it is a Friday. I'm glad that it's here. It's been a relatively long week. We've all had a lot of things happening in front of us, a lot of stress, a lot of expectations. Will things go wrong? What's going to happen? And here we are at the end of the week. And fortunate for many of us, we have survived to be here. Certainly, there are those who did not. And for those, we think about. For those, we certainly pause and reflect. But for those of us who are still here, how do we plod on, right? Going to get you a look at what's happening in your headlines. Best place to do that, of course, KFDM.com. You can check up on all the local news. Stories of, I would think, of interest to you. BISD votes against returning Dr. Thomas's name to the football stadium. You can read that story. There was 2 that wanted to, and the rest, I think there are 5 more, right? 7 that were against the move, so they did not do that. Also, I think this is one of those stories that, a lot of us have been asking, what is going on? Why can we not get information about vaccines. Why are we not seeing more vaccines coming into our community? Well, if you go and look, you'll find that there are a couple of stories. The county judge is saying that there's vaccine here, but they're also saying they're waiting for an adequate amount of vaccine. They're going to get about 2,000 doses in Jefferson County, but when you start doing the numbers, you pretty quickly understand what's going on. The vaccines, 500 are designated for this. Another 300 are designated for these people, essential workers. So you realize, because we in the state of Texas and many other states are starting to do the same thing now, where they're opening it up to a greater number of people. You know, maybe originally started in many states where it was only essential workers, frontline workers, and then they expanded it to those over the age of 75. Well, here in the state of Texas, pretty quick, we went from essential and frontline workers to 1B, which was anybody over the age of 65, plus anyone over the age of 16 who has underlying medical condition. Well, those are big numbers when you think about it. What percentage of the population is over the age of 65? And then you can add to that, don't you think, the idea that those who are over 65 generally are the ones who are going to be most actively seeking the vaccine. You know, if a person's 35, they're healthy, they look around, they go, what's the point? But a person who's 65 plus is going, look, I'm in that age group. I'm in the higher risk age group. You know, I want it. I want to get it. Plus, there are also, many of them come from a background where vaccines don't scare them. Vaccines are not something, you know, they're makes them pause. I mean, it's something they've been doing their entire lives. They got the polio vaccine when they were an infant, and that's where it started. So they don't have too many qualms about taking the vaccine if they could find it. The problem is finding it. I know because I qualify. I've looked. I've tried to get it. I've been unsuccessful. Have not been able to get it. I'm on waiting list, but I have not gotten a phone call. Still waiting, you know. Somebody said, you know what, the rhyme and reason is, it's not if you're eligible, it's who you know. Well, I think I know quite a few people, but that's not the way I'm going to get the vaccine. I'm going to get the vaccine when it's my turn, when it's time for me to take it, when somebody says, okay, you know, you're eligible, come down, here's where we're going to do it. All right. And I would hope that's the way it is for everybody. But I didn't even think about this being something that would be possible. And that is that, check this story. This is USA Today. I should have known that. I should have known that this would be happening. But apparently, look at this word, this phrase, vaccine tourism. Vaccine tourism. Now, I'm like, okay, I know what that's going to, but really? Yeah, apparently people of wealth are willing to travel to get their shots, because you don't have to live in any one specific place. Just like if you live in Jefferson County, you can still get your shot in Hardin County or Tyler County or Orange County. So here these people are who are apparently jumping on their private planes or getting into their vehicles and driving all over the country. Many of them live, even Canadians are apparently flying to Florida. And now Florida is saying, you're going to have to show proof of address. We're not going to ask if you're in the specific county, but you can't come in from out of state. These doses were designated for people who live in this area, who live in Florida. We're not going to give, all of these away. It's just not going to happen. So I think it's, not something that I would have thought of, but I guess I should have, because it doesn't seem unrealistic, obviously, that people would do that if they have that possibility. Tammy says it's raining in Hemp Hill. Clara Jean says happy Friday. Happy Friday to you, Clara. Also, Chason, good morning. Sorry I'm late to Dan's party. Well, you're never late to the party, Chason. You're right on time. As long as you get here, you're right on time. Carlene Purdue says this is what happens when the government runs these programs. Apparently, Carlene, if we are to believe some of the stories that we're starting to see today that are coming out, this is also what happens when the government doesn't really run the program. When they kind of half-heartedly, I'm not sure, but a lot of people, and of course it could be very partisan, but are suggesting that, what the transition teams and those who are now taking over are saying what we inherited is not what we were told. And that the distribution system is in breakdown, and there's a lot of issues and a lot of problems that have to be overcome. Do you take any hope in the fact that yesterday you had a new president who laid out and said, okay, here are all the things that we're going to do. Here's how we're going to fight this. Here's what we're going to do. I think all of us, I don't say all of us, I think a good portion of us really wanted somebody somewhere, sometime to say, we're in a battle, we're in a war, this is what we have to do, this is our strategy, this is the battle plan, this is how we're going to attack it. But you can say all those things, but until you can deliver on those things, people are still going to be hesitant. People are still going to, we're all now in the wait and see mode. And I think people who live in counties, smaller counties, more rural counties, are also the ones who are going to be probably a little bit behind the curve, because what's going to happen is you have to get the vaccines out to these large metropolitan areas because you have larger numbers of people, and that's where they're going to go first. They also have a greater risk of crash and burn for their hospitals and their healthcare systems simply because they have more numbers to overwhelm. But if we're to believe the things that I'm hearing in Southeast Texas, there are a lot of doctors, nurses, respiratory therapists who are on the edge of collapse, that they're bone tired, that this has been going on a long time, and that every time they get one patient well, another one steps in and takes their place. And now we have the concern about what's going on, with the variants as well. Jacqueline wrote, my father's 91-year-old, lives in Beaumont. Sad that I have to call all over Beaumont and surrounding counties to put him on a list for a vaccine. Jacqueline, the frustration is real. I mean, it's one of those things that it's people, from 65 plus who have spent days and days making those calls. Billy Blackburn wants to know, do I need a razor? No, don't think so. And Jeannie Foster says, good morning, Vinan from Viter. Love you, Purple. It's Friday. And indeed. Nina McCarver, good morning, Dan. Sorry, must have missed the internet. Has been crazy. Yeah, it has been. And then Patricia Jones says, I'm in Walker County, not looking to see it here for a while. See, and that's what I'm saying. If you're looking for the vaccine, we're talking about, again, even though you may hear these numbers, and you, for example, I saw one this morning, Dallas County, Tarrant County. I think they had 9,000 vaccines. You're like, wow. But think about the total population of Tarrant County. Think about Dallas County. Think about Harris County. When you're talking 3-4 million people, 9,000? And then you realize, okay, 9,000 actually seems a whole lot. Well, let's say that our total 9-county area that we're talking about in Trauma Center or Trauma Region R is 1.3 million, and you're getting maybe 4,000 doses. So see, that kind of brings it into picture a little bit more into focus for you, I think. Also, this is an interesting one. We're not the only ones wondering exactly what's going on. Dan Patrick asking Texas to revise our coronavirus vaccine distribution plan as eligible people experience frustration trying to locate a dose. Interesting story. I would suggest if you're if you're one of those people frustrated, you might want to go read this, see what he's saying. Basically, his request is that we should be able to give people a reasonable idea when they can expect to receive their injections instead of leaving them hanging. You know what the answer is going to be. I mean, and again, I'm not doubting that there aren't people that are working hard to distribute this, and there aren't people working hard as they possibly can to get, vaccine in the arms of people. But the answer is going to be, we don't know any more than you do. We just know what we're told. We just know what we're given. We just know what suppliers are pushing out. We just know what we've gotten from this point. And it's just a lot of this, them Everybody points at everybody else. But that's nothing new. We just have to hope that, this thing speeds up. If the news about Johnson & Johnson is actually true, that they're about to ask for emergency use, if AstraZeneca, comes along. And then you have to take in, it's not just, this is that macro micro thing that I was talking about earlier. While we're looking at this in our micro view of, my city, my county, my state, keep taking it out to the macro view, and suddenly you realize it's our county, our state, but what about the 49 other states and all those other counties? And then take that out one more. What about all the other countries in the world? And now you see what the problem is that people told us from the beginning. The manufacturers of vaccines warned us from the beginning. You cannot produce millions of doses without time. It just doesn't happen. It's not like something you don't just, walk into the lab and whip it up and suddenly you've got 100 million doses. And realizing that you're talking about 300 million people in one country. And then start doing exponentially around the rest of the world. And you realize, wow, what it's going to take to be able to get a vaccine that really, reaches enough people worldwide that you create this so-called herd immunity. Now, a lot of people who said that it wouldn't happen have now changed their mind and said maybe it will happen. Part of that is because many people who said they would not take the vaccine, there's no way I'm going to do that, have now changed their minds. New study out this morning suggesting that originally, wasn't that long ago in the fall, people were saying 50% of the people that they spoke to on these surveys said, no, absolutely not. I'm not taking the vaccine. Now it's down to 30% of the people who say, I'm not going to take it. Now it's more the issue of can I find it versus can I take it? All right. One more story for you this morning, and I'm going to let you go because it is Friday. I know you have things you want to do, things I want to do as well. And one of them, I love this story, and for a multitude of reasons. I like this story. I just wanted to share it with you. Haven't we all been here? Here's the Houston Chronicle, Patricia Aguirre story. It says, once in a lifetime catch, angler unofficially reels in the largest blue catfish at Calaveras Lake. Now, here's a picture of the proud, fisherman, lucky enough to have his sons, I'm assuming, with him in the boat, right? And he's got this big fish in his arms. And it says a local angler unofficially broke a fish record at a San Antonio lake earlier this month. On January 3rd, Jeff Boynton, owner of Get Bent Fishing Guide Services, took a San Antonio man and his family out fishing about 20 miles southeast of downtown. There, the local, Mr. Ruiz, snagged a once-in-a-lifetime catch. He reeled in a 39.7-pound blue catfish that would have broken the lake's record. However, Mr. Ruiz released the fish back in the lake instead of weighing it on a certified scale to make it official. Regardless, it's the unofficial status. And the Parks and Wildlife posted about Ruiz's catch, saying he should be proud. This fish will unfortunately not qualify, but Mr. Ruiz should still feel great about catching one of the largest blue catfish caught in San Antonio, the post said. Thanks to Get Bent Fishing Guide Services for sending once-in-a-lifetime catch. And Mr. Boynton said the catfish put up one hell of a fight. And he said they didn't know they were going to catch catfish or not, but it took him 10 minutes to land it. But I guess my point being, yes, you have the record, but no, you don't. All I could think of was, man, look at all the fillets. But I think that's just kind of like, that idea that you're successful, but at the same time, and maybe to some degree, it is the satisfaction, right, of just knowing that you caught the fish. But it would still be nice, I would think, for Mr. Ruiz, if his name was in the record book. I just want to know the story behind it. I mean, did he catch it and go, oh, let's just let it go? Or did they catch it and go, oh, we're too far in. We'd have to go all the way back. The boys are having a good time. Let's just keep fishing. Not realizing that, is a picture enough? I don't know. But I hope for Mr. Ruiz's sake that, he doesn't feel too bad about the one that, you guessed it, got away. But it didn't get away. But it did get away. Do you have the official? No. But still, he does have the unofficial record, which, again, I hope that's enough for him. It's enough for me today. It's official. Today is Friday. The weekend is upon us, and we have, we have time now. It's my time. I'm taking it, right? I'm going to enjoy my time. I'm sleeping in tomorrow. No matter what happens, I am not getting up before 4 a.m. I am not going to do it. That's sleeping in for me. That's a couple of hours. I am sleeping in. What else is? I'm going to do what I want to do tomorrow, as long as my wife is willing to do it with me, or that I get permission with, or that we'll spend time together, which makes it good. And again, I hope you will spend time with family this weekend. I know a lot of us have been very dutiful about, not getting too close to people, about, keeping our grandkids at arm's length, of seeing them at all. And, again, let's give that perspective to life that hopefully in the very near future, that those things will be something that we remember, that people will talk about the years that were, the pandemic that was, and we'll have gone through it and we'll come out on the other side, and life will not be the same as it was pre-pandemic, but it will certainly be better and easier to live, I think, to some degree, just because you don't have to worry, or you don't have to put a mask on all the time to be around people. So we'll hope that happens. Hey, listen, do me a favor, if you will. Hit me with a like. If you enjoy the show, it's the little thumbs up. I would appreciate that, or any other of the emojis if you want to. If a like doesn't fit you, that's fine. Also, post up your comments. As I said, I do read every one of them every day, and I know what you're talking about, what you're thinking. But if you have something you'd like for us to talk about, or if you have somebody you'd like for us to interview, or if you have a story that you think somebody is not telling, share it. And we'll see what we can do to correct that problem, or at least bring it to somebody's attention, okay? Also, the reminder that there are a lot of ways that you can keep up with us right here on the KFDM Facebook page, of course. Also, Twitter, my handle, Morning TV Dan. You can also catch up with us on YouTube. We have a channel. It's Dan's at Home. You can subscribe to Dan's at Home, and you'll see all of these updates that we do on Facebook Live are also posted on our YouTube page, and you will get notification when they are there. All right. So that being said, do something for somebody else today. That random act of kindness. Reach out to a neighbor. Just check on them. See if they're doing okay. I don't know. Maybe make a phone call. It's an easy thing to do. But again, as we always say, it doesn't count. Paying it forward doesn't count in my book unless you do it without any expectation of something in return. It's not an act of kindness if you do it and you say, oh, I'm going to feel good about this. It really, to me, isn't it just a random act of kindness if you do it because you know you should be doing it, or you do it because it's the right thing to do, instead of going, well, if I do this, maybe somebody will do it for me. If you do it without any expectations at all, then to me, that's the true test, of who you are. All right, I'm out of here. I will see you back bright and early Monday morning, both on the television show on KFDM and Fox 4. And then we'll get together right back here on our Facebook page on Monday as well. So go out and make it a terrific weekend, and I'll look forward to talking to you again soon.